U of A football players who witnessed women getting physically assaulted by a former teammate, now serving prison time, face punishment for not blowing the whistle on him. Is a bromance brewing between U of A basketball coach Sean Miller and rival ASU coach Bobby Hurley. And TUSD school swap saga. Should the governing board just do us all a favor and quit? These stories and more next on the 520. Welcome to the 520. I'm Steve Nunez.
And I'm Marty Mata IV. Thanks for joining us. And here we got The Rock, and it's still alive.
The Rock is still alive, and guess what? It is the scarf, and it's going to still be alive until March when Arizona wins the national championship. I'll tell you what, though. Forget about ASU's curtain of distraction. This is the real deal right here. It's going to be walking on its own.
Out till March, man.
I'm
You
not
got flies in
watching
here.
it.
You got flies in here, man.
Ready for this, man?
Of course.
All right. More serious note now. Accusations of sexual harassment have set off a ripple effect from Hollywood's rich and famous to power players in the sports world. They're now finally, though, facing consequences. So what happens when teammates witness women getting physically assaulted but tighten their lips to stay silent? Well, according to a local article that cited a police report, that's exactly what happened at the U of A. The report claims U of A football players saw former teammate Orlando Bradford, seen right there wiping away tears, assault at least 2 of his girlfriends. He was then convicted and is now serving 5.5 years in prison. Hard to watch that because you don't feel sorry for the guy, but so much for see something, say something.
We have to definitely put the blame, if it's not on Orlando Bradford, on those teammates that did see something, because if you do see something, you got to say something. At the very least, if there wasn't a policy for any of them to be able to say something, there definitely has to be one now.
Okay, we talked about this and we mentioned this on the 520 quite a while ago. Now we're finding out. Okay, and let's actually backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
I made the comment that Greg Byrne left Arizona for Alabama, even though it was a better job and all, left because he knew what was coming down the pipeline. And you know what? This falls back on him because he was here when these players witnessed it, and they finally went to the powers that be, and again, nothing was done. So I think Greg Byrne, going back, his hands are a little bit dirty.
And it could be why he left for sure. It could be why he left allegedly.
I stand by that. I stand by my opinion on that.
And definitely because at the very least, what does this say about the program as a whole? Here we go again with disorganization. Here we go again with things being left under the table.
Culture.
Exactly.
All right, so should these players have to sit out a game or be suspended for not saying something, especially in the Foster Farms Bowl, quickly?
It'd just be, if there was a policy in place for them to be disciplined for it, yes, of course, but now there definitely has to be one, so they shouldn't be.
With no policy, can't hold them accountable, right?
Exactly.
Now Arizona needs to implement a policy. It's that simple. All right, well, staying with Arizona football, does Rich Rod deserve the honor of being named Pac-12 Coach of the Year? Well, collegefootballnews.com certainly made a case for Rich Rod by selecting him as its Pac-12 Coach of the Year. There you see Rich Rod having one of his hissy fits. Well, got to give the guy credit. He did turn around Arizona from a 3-9 season to 7-5 this year. The 4-game improvement, you can't watch that without laughing, but the 4-game improvement was the largest jump in the league. However, one of the biggest knocks against Rich Rod is the fact he failed to play Khalil Tate at the start of the year. Arizona could have been much, much better, potentially, had we had Khalil Tate maybe 3 wins instead of going in 2-2 before he came in against Colorado and tore it up for 300 and some yards.
Yeah. I personally can't call him the Pac-12 Coach of the Year because I personally don't think he did anything.
What do you mean he didn't do anything, though?
He didn't do anything.
He did turn the team around from 3-9 to 7-5.
And here's the thing:
that is something, though.
3-9 from his mistakes. A game's underneath 500 from his mistakes, and there wasn't no giant schematic change. There was no X's and O's that he implemented to improve the season. It was the raw talent behind center. Does he deserve credit for that? No, I don't think he does.
Well, but here's the deal, though. On one hand, okay, he doesn't in the sense where Arizona lost 3 of their last 4 games. And straight out, he got outcoached by Todd Graham, who ironically is fired now as ASU's head coach. Arizona should have won that game, by the way. But you have to say something for Rich Rod. Just yesterday, okay, he brought in 16 new recruits. Bigger, better, stronger athletes. You got to give him credit for that, because now this program is turned around. You add this year's success with the freshmen, you add this year's success with Khalil Tate, you add 16 recruits, 3-star players. Look what he's done. He's turned some great freshmen, or good freshmen, into great freshmen, and now we have years to build on this.
And what he has done was he had stellar recruiting classes. In the previous years, this 3 and 9 year was supposed to be his recruiting class, his strength and conditioning programs implemented. We had star recruits like Trey Griffey. Back in the day, we had star recruit transfer from Notre Dame, Devontae Neal. And I doubt our viewers can even name who those guys are.
All right, but I still say, you know, there is a good argument. Rich Rod deserves Coach of the Year, because at the beginning of the year, remember, there's 15-to-1 odds that he would get fired, and he didn't.
No, he bought himself more time is what he did.
He bought himself more time. All right, well, we now know just how much ASU's new football coach, Herm Edwards, is really worth a measly $2 million a year. Well, by today's standards, that is straight up chump change, especially when ASU fired Todd Graham, and it cost him $12 million to run him out of town. On top of the $2 million, Herm Edwards will earn an annual pay raise of, wow, $250,000. His contract runs through 2022, but this 63-year-old hasn't coached since 2008 after being fired by the Kansas City Chiefs. He has no credentials, really, as a head coach on the college level.
So I got to think, and the way you dissect it is,
he's a bad hire.
I think he's worth the $2 million from the sense where you look at it and you find out why ASU hired Herm Edwards. I don't think he's going to be coaching a lot of football. He's not going to be dissecting a whole bunch of film. What he is going to be doing is he's going to say something witty after they win a game. He's going to have cameras on him, and then it'll go viral on Twitter.
But college football is not about the pretty boy coach.
It's not, but what ASU is doing,
it's about winning.
They were
winning.
They hired a nationally credited coach, and now they're getting nationally credited coverage on ESPN, here at the local level, and everything in between. So what it is doing is getting them national coverage, which is what all Pac-12 schools except USC have been lacking. Think about USC, though. The reason they were so good and they were so big and bad, they had guys like Pete Carroll. Pete Diddy wanted to be on the sidelines. Will Ferrell was out there on practice doing. They had that national character and that national brand that sold everything else except for the football. Not a lot of Pac-12 schools have had that in the history of the Pac-12 and Pac-10.
I don't care that ASU hired Herm Edwards. I don't care who they hire. Obviously, I'm wearing my colors, my true colors. But I will say this, though. You know what is truly who should be upset about this hire? And it's truly a slap in his face. Bobby Hurley. Guess how much he makes?
How much does he make?
Bobby Hurley with the #3 ASU basketball team. Think about this. ASU is not a basketball school. It's a football school. Bobby Hurley makes $1.2 million. You're telling me Herm Edwards is a better coach than Bobby Hurley, or deserves to get paid more than Bobby Hurley?
It deserves some recognition, and it deserves to be reevaluated at the least.
Again, I'll go back to it, bad hire, but we'll move on. Well, love is in the air, and it's only December, not even February, but as a Wildcat fan, I say it a bit sarcastically, but you'll see what I'm talking about in about a second, so bear with me. Basketball team, though, is on a 6-game winning streak, climbing the polls to number 18. Cats are dropping shots and playing better defense, and now they are 9-3 on the season, and looking like the Cats should be looking like at this time of the year. Even Sean Miller's feeling a bit chummy these days. It's not just the Wildcats he's happy about. We're talking about Bobby Hurley. Well, he's showing much love for Bobby Hurley and ASU's early season success. Take a listen.
I think the days of cheering against a Pac-12 opponent ended many, many years ago. I don't know if everybody feels that way. It's almost like human nature that you don't want certain teams to win because, you know, it almost puts more pressure on you. That's not the case here with how I feel or how we feel. There couldn't be a better moment for the Pac-12 than ASU's win at Kansas. It gives our conference credibility. It allows more teams in our conference to get into the NCAA tournament.
All right, I get this is about the conference. We want more teams in the tournament, but sounds to me like a bromance is brewing.
Here's the thing.
Like
it's like, aside from the rivalry, this isn't 1972 where Mean Joe
Green. Do you remember last year when Bobby Hurley got thrown out of the game because he was just yelling at the refs, disrespecting in many ways Sean Miller, looking over at the U of A bench? He did not like what was going on.
And here's the thing is, it's not that big of a deal. If these guys want to be friends, their wives hit it off, it's a good thing.
Okay, but here are true friends. Here's the last time Arizona, Lute Olson and ASU's coach Bill Frieder had a love fest with each other. But this was funny, and both of them had personalities that you could actually, they were likable.
Yeah.
Bill Frieder was likable. Bobby Hurley and Sean Miller are not the two types of guys who are going to be in a Bank One commercial and be all fuzzy wuzzy.
What's Bank One?
You weren't even born when those commercials were out. But those were funny commercials, and you grew to like Bill Frieder because he took the jab, he went along with the jokes. Lute Olson looked great, he looked bad, which is the way it should be.
Maybe there's some marketing guru sitting in the headquarters of ASU's university, the University of Arizona State, blah, 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 sitting there right now, facilitating this whole thing because it definitely has us talking about it.
I just don't like the bromance. Not with ASU. Never, ever, ever, ever. All right, after getting parents and students all fired up for secretly negotiating a backdoor deal to swap schools, the TUSD governing board caved to public pressure and axed the plan. Well, for months, the board considered a proposal to move Catalina High to Rincon and University High, which shares a campus with Rincon, to Catalina. The shell game sounded like a master plan, but then parents and students got wind of the secret deal and showed up to board meetings by the hundreds. The board backpedaled and voted down the deal. Why does TUSD always do this stupid stuff?
What's even worse is that they tried to sneak it under the table because they didn't think it was going to be a big deal. They didn't think that somebody would find out and cause a scene over it. That's the worst part.
But this is exactly what they do with every issue. They can never make a decision on it. And the fact of the matter is, why even go backdoor and not include everybody at the table? To me, that's just straight up incompetence by the board. And it shows how these wannabe politicians just can't make a decision, and a decision where they should include all people involved. Think about this. Relocating schools like that, what happens with busing students from Catalina all the way to Rincon and vice versa? Where are those costs? What does that do? You know, and then your parents are teachers, and they have something to say about it.
At the very least, my father worked in special ed for the longest time, and Catalina has a very heavy disabled student population, meaning that there's tons of very qualified special ed teachers all the way down to there's very accessible classrooms for students in wheelchairs.
Not to mention all international students who move to Tucson go to Catalina.
Yes, and are we going to just pick it up and push it somewhere else like Patrick Starr and put them in Rincon, at the Rincon campus? That's not something that's going to take an overnight process. They weren't thinking about this. This wasn't planned ahead. It's very obvious.
Well, it's just upsetting because, once again, they left the players out of the conversation who should have been in that conversation to avoid this huge debacle. It just speaks exactly what happens with ethnic studies, with what's happening with all these school closures. I mean, over the last 10, 15 years, we've had, what, 22 schools closed?
Plus or minus.
And there's always been controversy surrounding it because of the lack of communication.
Pathetic, pathetic.
All right, let's jump right into Do We Care? We're not just a sports show, we also do politics, and we like to tell it like it is, even if it's a big story or a small story. We're going to break it down, all community issues. So let's get right to it. A group of Arizona business leaders plan to ask voters to pass a 1.5-cent sales tax to increase and pump $900 million to public schools and universities. The 2020 ballot measure would extend Governor Ducey's half-cent sales tax already in effect. Do we care?
So here's the thing.
I would hope so.
If they stick to it and they're men and women of their word and it goes to schools and universities, I care because, yes, I would completely support that. I would support a 20-cent raise in sales tax if it meant free community college. So if they could stick to their word, this sounds like a fantastic idea.
Well, it sounds great. Pouring $900 million, much needed $1 million into funding education, especially when Arizona ranks last.
Yeah.
But here's where they grab you by the cojones to get you to vote yes. It's a guilt trip, man. They're promising to take some of this money and pour $340 million to give teachers a 10% pay raise, okay? But here's the real kicker.
Sounds good to me.
But here's the real kicker,
Yeah.
though. That money, though, okay, is just to make up where teachers should be at right now because of all the budget cuts over the last 10 years. And then you hear Governor Doug Ducey say, I'm not for this plan because I don't like education taxes. Yet, we just passed a half-cent sales tax, and he's taking credit for it in funding public education and where education is at right now, and giving teachers a 1% pay raise last year. So, you know what I say? I call BS and bluff on Governor Ducey's plan. I think he's behind the plan at the end of the day. Why? Because next year, he is up for re-election.
There we go again.
There we go.
Oh, man. Back to TUSD's governing board incompetence. After sneaking through a controversial economics class that was never approved by the state, the district quietly dropped that class that taught students to think like the Koch brothers. Do you know those guys? And do you care?
You know, I do care because once again, we talked about this. And we should ask this question and we should put some pressure on the board members. Just quit. I mean, it's just dumb that they would ban this class. And here's why, okay? I don't know what this class is. I've never been inside the classroom, but I do know they banned ethnic studies because they said it indoctrinated students. Well, that's exactly what this class is doing with ties to the Koch brothers. It's indoctrinating students. But here's where it gets worse, and here's where it gets super, super fishy, okay? TUSD did not budget enough money to buy textbooks to teach this class in 4 different high schools. So where did the books come from?
Straight from
they
the
got
teachers.
smuggled in. That's exactly where they came from. Worse, 3 other school districts have this course. Vail, Sahuarita, and Phi. They all vetted this course and did it the right way so that it's state approved. TUSD had the opportunity to just, instead of ban it, just say, okay, let's fix it. Let's vet this course, let's teach it right, and it's on for next year. Instead, oh no, let's just throw it away and we'll think about it next year or in a couple of years or when parents complain.
And that's exactly it. It was in the Vail School District. I graduated from the Vail School District, so I took that class. But
you are indoctrinated.
Yeah, and what I can say about that class, at the very least, is it taught me some of the most practical stuff that transitioned from the classroom to being a civilian.
And you know what? That's just being a sellout. From blue to red. Come on,
and
man.
here's the thing.
You never think red.
That's not what I said. I'm not the Koch brothers 3, the Koch brothers 3.
You're the triplet they've been
There
missing.
we go. And here's the thing: is that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that from this statement, at the very least, I hope that TUSD, Amphi, Sahuarita, Marana, all of those districts.
Really quick though, should it be taught though?
That's exactly what I wanted to say. It was some of the most practical information that I taught. I learned what a fiscal year was as a sophomore in high school. You know what I mean? That's practical stuff. So I hope that they take that information and at the very least, make something useful, make something practical out of it, and teach something that will actually transition from the classroom to the real world.
Do you budget your money better?
I learned a few things from there.
Right.
I learned a few things from there.
All right, well, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce released a report saying Arizona could lose 235 jobs if President Donald Trump scraps NAFTA, also known as the North American Free Trade Agreement. Do we agree?
I swear these men would stop breathing. They would relocate their lungs if they found out the Obama administration created oxygen. They would stop breathing. Everything they do is so out of spite. It is only to go against everything that happened in the past 4 years. I don't like it one bit. from all the way from NAFTA to DACA to everything in between that, just absolute out of spite.
All right, I should correct myself on that. I think I said 300,000, but I think it's 325,000. So with that said, though, here's what I think would be a bad idea to scrap this, because the U.S. Chamber of Commerce directly connects 100,000 jobs in Arizona to commerce, especially between U.S. and Mexico. Mexico pours in $5 billion every year into Arizona through produce, mainly. Can you imagine if we start scrapping all this or putting more tariffs on Mexico just to prove a point on how much that's going to hurt the people when it comes to going to the grocery store and buying a head of lettuce, buying produce or whatever it takes? I just think it's a bad idea. NAFTA should not be axed. NAFTA should be fixed, period.
To say the least, to say the least. And after the New York terrorist attack, the local Ahmadiyya Muslim community issued a statement condemning the attacks, but their words went unheard. So do we care?
Well, yeah. I got a chance to interview Umar Shahid from the Ahmadiyya community over a month ago on this show, on the 520, and we got a great interview with him. Of course, he showed frustration that after every terrorist attack, the Ahmadiyya Muslim community has to come forward and apologize. And on the flip side, he's got a point. Do Christians have to apologize when a Christian commits an act of terror? Saw what happened in Las Vegas.
Caucasians and Anglos have to do the same thing.
And you don't hear that. So in his defense, I think the Ahmadiyya community or any Muslim community, if they're going to step forward and issue an apology, then people should be there to listen, period.
And I think why I care so much about this entire thing is because I think what it is it's just a flat out lack of coverage from any local reporter, from a blog to a podcast, from everything. It's just a lack of coverage because they didn't see a story there. They didn't see an opportunity for the Muslim community to be heard in a positive way. So to them, that wasn't a story. We were the only ones that saw it. Exactly.
Lack of diversity that's lacking in newsrooms today. Somebody should have been right there to at least create a dialogue so that we can begin to bridge our communities and be cohesive as a community, in my opinion.
I agree.
Well, an Arizona lawmaker, Maria Sims, Republican of Paradise Valley, wants to eliminate non-disclosure agreements in sexual harassment cases. She calls the secret hush money agreements a sexual predator loophole. Strong words. Do we care?
Yeah, of course we do. If there's anything we should care about right now, it's this one right here. It's finally, after so many cases and so many allegations, it's finally holding somebody accountable for their actions, primarily. So out in Los Angeles right now, we all know the whole debacle with Harvey Weinstein. There's billboards, there's posters, there's everything in between that. Harvey Weinstein standing next to Meryl Streep and her eyes are blurred out and it says she knew. So even to this point, after Harvey Weinstein, we still can't blame Harvey Weinstein and put everything on his shoulders. We're looking to blame somebody else like Meryl Streep. He's still not held accountable for what he's done.
Accountability. And we talked about this at the top of the show, talking about should U of A players be punished for witnessing a teammate physically assault two girlfriends. And here's what happens though, okay? We're finally talking about in 2017 punishing politicians or people with money who can cover it up with such accusations, okay? But how can we tell players to tell on a teammate or to blow the whistle when everyone else does the same thing, but they're just in positions of power? I think it's ridiculous, and I think it's about time, though, that such a law passes so that there are no more non-disclosure. Nobody should hide behind money. More importantly, it'll allow witnesses, or victims, I'm sorry, to come forward and speak out and not wait until they have to live with this for years and years in their lives.
I agree. Could have said it better myself. Couldn't have said it better.
All right. Well, you've heard the phrase, oh, no, you didn't. Well, here at the 520, we're not afraid to tell it like it is with Oh, yes, we did. I'll get started. So, ASU basketball is off to their best start ever at 11-0. Fans are starting to fill the seats. The curtain of distraction to get players to miss free throws at home games is genius. And it's getting national pub now that the team's getting more airtime on ESPN. But come lately to the party, ASU fans, listen up. Act like you've been there before. Oh, wait, my bad. You really haven't. Therefore, just shut up and stop talking smack about being better and ranked higher than Arizona. No one wins championships in November and December. And of course, you wouldn't know that because you're not a basketball school. But come December 30th, order will be restored. So for now, shut up.
Oh no, oh no.
Oh, I would?
How could you? Oh man.
Let's do that.
Up next, how could you, Bruce Arians, the inconsistent Cardinals? Head coach Bruce Arians just announced that he will be sitting quarterback Blaine Gabbert once again and will be starting Drew Stanton this Sunday. My question for the GM and the head coach is, how much is too much? It does no good for either quarterback and the offense to be so inconsistent when neither quarterback nor the offense can make improvements because there is no opportunity to make those improvements. Why can't Coach Arians at least admit he made a mistake by not looking through free agency when he had the chance? I'm not even saying Colin Kaepernick, but Jimmy Garoppolo, AJ McCarron, Mike Glennon, and Paxton Lynch. If money is the issue, then Steve, be an NFL GM, reevaluate your payroll, because whoever you're paying too much to not afford a quarterback, they're not selling you tickets, not winning you football games, and they're not going to save you from being unemployed.
Then who would you pick then?
If it was me, I would say invest some money and sign Eli Manning. He's done in New York. Ben McAdoo could care less about what he's doing. Let him pull a Peyton Manning. Arizona's always been a retirement home with Emmitt Smith, Edgman.
Bring Kaepernick. That's what I say. Bring Kaepernick.
I would say sign Eli Manning, a veteran quarterback who knows how to deal with veteran wide receivers. They'll finally have David Johnson back to take the slack off him.
Bring Kaepernick. You got 10 years to build
I'd say that's an investment. I say that's an investment.
All right. Well, that does it for this week's 520. As you know, our goal is to tell it like it is because it's all about giving voice to opinions, even if you don't agree. I'm Steve Nunez.
And I'm Artie Mata IV. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week on the 520.